video is going to be addressing the concept of scientific proof and reasonable doubt. It's worth noting that in science, the term proof applies only to mathematics. The cell theory, the atomic theory, the theory of evolution, a spherical Earth aren't proven. But a wonderful example of unreasonable doubt can be seen with creationists denying evolution. Perfect example would simply be their responses to things like carbon dating, all of which show the Earth over 6,000 years old. What they will do, however, is carbon dating is a tool, and like any tool, it has its limitations. So they will find one of the limitations of carbon dating, for example, dating shellfish or organisms that live deep underwater, which is a limitation of carbon dating, and it's not used for those applications. Try and date something with it and say, aha, this result is absolutely wrong, therefore all of carbon dating is false. That's unreasonable doubt. That's basically the same thing as sitting here and taking a toaster and saying, this toaster won't work underwater, therefore no toasters will work. Unreasonable doubt. Neanderthals. DNA evidence shows that they are not human, yet creationists insist that they are. What do they say that they are? They say they're old men with rickets. As if all the DNA evidence and the paleontological evidence and the comparative anatomy evidence all gets thrown out the window, as if these paleontologists and biologists aren't able to distinguish between a completely separate hominid species and an old man with rickets? Really? Do they honestly think that we're as stupid as they are? Another wonderful example. Creationists denying the DNA evidence for common descent. Keep in mind that the DNA evidence that supports common descent is the same exact method that's used in paternity testing. So they sit here and they say that the same genes, same designer argument, but by their logic, paternity tests are therefore invalid. But again, unreasonable doubt. If you actually listen to them, creationists bear a lot of resemblance to people who deny the Holocaust, the flat earthers, and things like that. They all have these elaborate excuses for why the evidence completely contradicts their point of view. Creationists are no different. If you ever remember that radio phone call that I made, where I pointed out where the host was asserting that the Cambrian explosion was evidence of the fifth day of creation, until I pointed out that birds appeared after land animals, and that completely contradicted his point of view. And he went back and how, oh, well, by tree we mean anything tall, and by seed we actually mean womb, and so on and so forth. And they can just do all sorts of mental gymnastics to verify their position. And that's something that all of these deniers can do, to the point where anything can possibly be doubted, and it's a matter of whether or not that doubt is reasonable. Again, I encourage you to go and check out any of the flat earth message boards or Holocaust denial places. They all have these extremely elaborate excuses, and that's a characteristic feature. So again, anything at all can be doubted. It's just a matter of whether or not it's reasonable. So let's see exactly how absurd creationist logic is and apply it to anything else. Let's apply their doubt. Let's say that creationists had a loved one who was murdered. We caught the killer on tape. They left DNA evidence everywhere, as well as fingerprints. So the jury comes back, and despite all of this, finds the person not guilty and sets them free. The creationist family is enraged, and they go and they ask the jurors, well, what about the DNA evidence? What about that? And the juror were to reply, well, God made us all the same. So, of course we have the same genes. The DNA evidence, we would all have a match. That's completely negated. Same thing with fingerprints. Well, what about the video evidence? You have the guy on video. Oh, do we? I mean, video cameras don't work if they're not plugged in, so the video evidence should be completely inadmissible. I mean, they'd be absolutely furious if it were applied to them in any other aspect of life, yet they freely do it without evolution and don't realize the double standard. And lastly, I'd like to point out in this short video just the hypocrisy of creationists who have the gall to sit here and, despite knowing nothing about biology or evolution, feel qualified to overrule every career biologist on the planet and say that evolution does not happen. For what? They say that there's not enough proof, and they exercise unreasonable doubt. Most people listening to this realize that evolution has been proven beyond all reasonable doubt, and it's open to as much reasonable doubt as whether or not the Earth goes around the sun or the other way around. But you have to admit that there's something slightly hypocritical about denying evidence from ecology, genomics, the fossil record, comparative anatomy, virtually every scientific study in the past 150 years, while at the same time believing in something that happened 2,000 years ago, for which there literally is no proof. That is something which should be reasonably doubted, yet they accept it as irrefutable fact, not open to any interpretation or question. Furthermore, there's no wiggle room in their literal interpretation of the Bible either. So they exercise unreasonable doubt in terms of evolution and unreasonable lack of skepticism in terms of their own religious beliefs, which is extremely hypocritical. It's just amazing how they simply don't have it right. They don't think critically enough about their own beliefs, yet at the same time, they're willing to go out and exercise unreasonable doubt about the science. And that's something that's important because, yes, evolution has not been proven, quote unquote, but it has been proven beyond all reasonable doubt. It's been proven to the same extent that the cell theory, the atomic theory, and the theory of gravities are. So please note that I bring this point about reasonable doubt up simply because it coincides nicely with my next video, which is going to be a reassessment of that list that I did about scientists rejecting evolution, published by the Discovery Institute. Thanks again for your time, everyone, and here it is, your moment of Zen.
Perhaps the Constitution envisions certain one-size-fits-all solutions.
Boring. I hear foghorn. Boring.
The legislature override a gubernatorial veto.
Boring at all.
I'm not feeling any romance between us right now.
You gotta do it like this.
Shawty, ready, set, go.
This was a pretty remarkable week on the gay marriage front. First of all, to have a state like Iowa.
What you trying to say about Iowa?
Not an East Coast state.
East Coast.
Not a left coast state. In a decision written by a Republican appointee.
Shawty, now you sound so fine. Give me a number, we can bump and grind. Talking about politics all night. Deep in the club in the morning light. If we could carry away the morning light, we might get gay married today.
We just heard from some of our viewers who strongly support legalizing marijuana.
Shawty, 5 of those calls was from
Do
me.
you think we should legalize pot alone or all drugs, including heroin, cocaine, and meth?
My brain says no, but my body says yes. I'm an angry gorilla. I heard you needed me.
Now that Captain Richard Phillips has been successfully rescued, the president has decided to step in front of the spotlight.
Ooh, I'm angry. You can't see it, but my forehead's painting.
Even take some credit for authorizing the mission.
Oh, don't you worry, baby boo. You'll always have an angry gorilla to be angry with you. That's what I do. Just ask Donkey Kong, he's in my crew.
At the North Pole, new satellite photos show Arctic ice is melting so fast.
Oh snap, how fast?
Many scientists now predict it won't be gone within 30 years.
Surely you just, I'm under cardiac arrest, shawty.
Some researchers think it could disappear in just 6 years. Without it, there could be a snowball effect, with temperatures rising even faster. If we all don't take bold action and take it soon,
Yeah,
we will find ourselves on very thin ice.
Very thin ice.
Very thin ice. Very thin ice.
Tell them hurry, pirates on very thin ice.
These pirates are criminals. They are armed gangs on the sea.
That means the ocean.
The United States does not make concessions or ransom payments to pirates.
Embarrassing. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I've got to take this.
Hello, shawty. We can meet up at the mall. At the mall. Browse around at the bookstore until we fall.
Love you too, Grandma. Sorry. Any other questions? Anybody want to buy drugs from me?
Auto to the news. Auto to the news.